Heartbreaking rejection of struggling mom leaves CEO speechless. What happens next will shock you. The day started like any other, but it was about to turn spectacularly strange. In the upscale, polished conference room of Grand Horizon Corp., a low hum swirled through the air like a secret message waiting to be uncovered. Christine Johnson entered, clutching her weathered leather bag. A deep frown framed her face, as if she were supposed to deliver a eulogy instead of a pitch that could change everything. She was there to fight for funds to save her fledgling catering business, a life raft in the chaotic ocean of motherhood filled with bills and childcare drama. As she stepped closer to the long, gleaming table, every pair of eyes in the room focused sharply on her, like vultures circling their next meal. The CEO, Ryan Blackwood, was a giant in the industry. His presence alone could shatter the calm. With an impeccable suit and a jawline that made ladies swoon, no one would guess that beneath that polished exterior lay a heart still haunted by the specter of his own failures. But today was different. The moment Christine opened her mouth, the air grew thick. Her voice, small but fierce, told a story of hunger, hustle, and heartbreak. A mumbling technician in the corner leaned in, nodding to himself, while the rest remained silent, hungering for every syllable. Then came the inexplicable twist. Just as Christine painted a vivid image of her dreams, a spread of beautifully created desserts and steaming platters of comfort food, Ryan cut her off. The moment hung between them, heavy as a death sentence, his expression ludicrously blank. "Thanks, but we don't feel that your concept matches our vision." Gasps echoed through the room as if a bomb had detonated. Christine's eyes widened. Was he serious? She fought back tears, the world blurring around her. The weight of his rejection landed like a sledgehammer. Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Just when it seemed like hope was slipping through her fingers, she met the gaze of an elderly gentleman in the corner of the company as janitor. Fred's eyes sparked with something unexpected, a protective fire, as he leaned forward, his expression a mix of defiance and compassion. The room fell dead silent. Even the hum of the air conditioning seemed to stop. Christine couldn't tell if Fred would speak out, or if he was merely a witness to her despair. Would his voice shatter this moment? And then, with the weight of the world on her shoulders, she realized something. This wasn't just about getting funding. It was about fighting for her children, for the life they deserved. What lay ahead was still clouded in mystery, but she'd never back down. This was the end. What would she do next? The tension thickened, leaving everyone breathless. Christine stood frozen, her heart racing. She could almost feel the heat of Fred's unwavering gaze melting the icy rejection draped over her. Every eye in the room was like steel, scrutinizing not just her, but the very fabric of her resolve. Did this janitor really have the courage to intervene? She clenched her fists, the leather of her bag digging into her skin, a reminder of what was at stake. Just then, Fred straightened up. "Excuse me," he boomed, his voice echoing off the sterile walls. Ryan looked surprised, caught off guard. The younger executives shifted in their seats, unsure of what to expect. This wasn't the sort of impromptu interruption that occurred in these polished meetings. Weighing someone's hard work against a vision can be short-sighted. Sometimes, you have to look beyond the numbers. In that moment, a current of solidarity surged through Christine. Fred continued, a flame igniting in his voice. "Christine's passion isn't just a concept, it's the lifeblood of our community. You all who sit up there, don't pretend for a second that you understand her struggle. he declared, pointing accusingly at the executives. "You're insulated. You don't see the hunger and despair in the eyes of those she serves. You don't know the taste of hunger." Now everyone as attention shifted to Ryan. He shifted uncomfortably, but the fires of doubt were ignited in his own heart. Christine seized on the moment, drawing in a breath that steadied her trembling hands. "I may not have the flashy pitch, and maybe my business doesn't fit inside your vision, but I pour my soul into every dish I create. My kids deserve more than just scrapes at the bottom of my wallet." As the words tumbled from her mouth, she saw heads nodding in the audience, even amidst the upper echelon that usually kept their expressions controlled. The technician was no longer just nodding. He was fully engaged, a half-finished sandwich abandoned on his workstation. Ryan's jaw clenched. "Christine, this is a tough industry. You need more than drive. You need an investor who understands the struggle." She shot back, her voice ringing with undeniable truth. "Well, maybe I need to show you. I'll set up a pop-up event. Let me prove that my food is more than just a business plan. It's a vision too." "Pop-up event?" Ryan raised an eyebrow, skepticism drawing his features tight. "A desperate last-ditch effort?" "No, a real taste of what I can offer." Christine faced him, eyes aflame with determination. "What do you say? Are you willing to give a struggling mother a chance to show that even a small dream can make a significant impact?" For a moment, disbelief painted the room. Every breath, each heartbeat was a question lingering on the tip of their tongues. Suddenly, the walls of Grand Horizon Corp felt strangely confining. Ryan appeared torn. The weight of the moment crashed heavily against him as he glanced at the faces of his employees, something flickering in his feature. Could he really turn away from this? Just as hope ignited, a phone rang, a shrill sound slicing through the tense silence. Ryan picked up his phone, his expression shifting as he scrolled through something on the screen. Then it happened. His eyes widened, and whatever flicker of indecision vanished. "I'm sorry, Christine. I really have to take this," he muttered, rising abruptly from his seat and exiting the room. Christine felt the world tilt again, a surge of frustration spiraling inside her. Did this man, who could change her life in an instant, truly not have time for a dream? As murmurs of uncertainty began swirling among the rest of the boardroom, Fred stepped closer to her, his eyes filled with concern. "Now what?" he asked quietly. Just then, Christine caught sight of the technician in the corner. He was still nodding, but his focus had shifted to a mysterious shadow loitering near the open door. Someone had just entered the room. Who was this new player? And how would they tip the scales of this already tense standoff? Christine's heart raced again, the cycle of hope and despair tearing at her mind. What next? The moment had just become even more unpredictable. The door creaked open wider, revealing a figure silhouetted against the harsh fluorescent light. Christine squinted, trying to make sense of the newcomer. It was a woman, mid-30s, with striking red hair cascading down her shoulders, and wearing a crisp business suit that screamed authority. A clipboard clutched tightly under her arm gave her the look of someone who meant business, and Christine felt her stomach drop. "Sorry to interrupt," the woman said, stepping into the room with a confident stride. Instinctively, the murmurs in the room quieted down, like a room full of children caught in a lie. "I'm Tara Lark, and I've just received some intriguing updates on our current project." Her gaze flicked between Ryan's empty chair and Christine, eyes narrowing as if assessing her worth in an instant. "I couldn't help but overhear your passionate plea." Christine's heart raced. What was Tara's angle? Was she here to help or to tear down what little momentum she'd built? "Christine, was it?" Tara asked, directing her attention completely towards her. "I'd love to hear more about your pop-up idea, but I have to admit, I have reservations." Her voice held a peculiar mix of challenge and curiosity. Christine swallowed hard. It's an opportunity to showcase my cooking, to show everyone what my kitchen can do, what it means to the community I serve. A pop-up can change perspectives. She could barely keep her voice steady. It felt like the whole room leaned in, waiting. Change perspectives, huh? Tara chuckled lightly, but it felt hollow. When was the last time a struggling mother upended the food world? Isn't it all just a romantic notion? Tension crackled, palpable as the air shifted. Christine felt a lump in her throat, words threatening to escape at a rush. She had faced doubt many times before. She couldn't allow this woman to undermine her fight now. You know what? It's not just about me. It's about my kids, the neighborhood, the people who can't afford to dream. I can make that food project work. Tara exchanged glances with a few who remained seated, a mix of disbelief and a hint of admiration. Sounds unique? Tell me, what is your plan? Christine leaned forward, emboldened by a flicker of hope and the fire from Fred's earlier support. Each dish tells a story. I sourced ingredients from local farmers. I want to create a connection between the people and the food. It's about home-cooked love, it's real. Tara nodded, absorbing the information while the others watched with bated breath. But what is the hook? You may have heart, but heart doesn't put food on tables, Christine. Maybe not, but it could ignite a movement. Christine blurted, urgency creeping into her voice. There are people out there who deserve to be seen. My mission is to bring them into the light, allow the community to feel our love through food. The silence that followed felt suffocating. Tara regarded Christine thoughtfully. Is your passion just that? It's easy to talk a big game. But when it's showtime, how will you handle the heat? It's a risky game you're playing. Just then, the sound of shouting erupted from the hallway, a deep, angry voice filled with frayed nerves. You can't do this. We need to discuss it now. Tara's brows knitted in confusion, as people in the room shifted uneasily. What's happening? Christine whispered, fear coiling in her stomach again. She couldn't help but think of how many hurdles she had already faced. What if this was just the start of new chaos? The door swung open fully, and everyone turned towards it. And there, nearly bursting in like a storm, was Ryan, face flushed and eyes wild. I've had enough of this nonsense. This needs to be confronted now. Christine's world stalled. The tension thickened, the air electric. What exactly was he referencing? The sudden shift in mood sent ripples through the boardroom, as if something ominous lurked beneath the surface. As Ryan's voice filled the space, Christine felt a chill run down her spine. The stakes were climbing higher, and the outcome was unclear. But one thing was certain, this meeting was far from over. What would Ryan reveal? And how would it impact her turbulent fate? Christine's heart thumped wildly as Ryan stepped closer to the group, his intense gaze darting over Tara, then landing squarely on her. You're all just wasting time with this nonsense. We need to talk about the budget cuts and the ramifications they're causing. His voice trembled with frustration, each word like a hammer hitting an anvil. Tara crossed her arms, her expression shifting from curiosity to irritation. Ryan, now isn't the time now, is exactly the time, he interrupted, raising his voice. The tension in the air thickened, squeezing Christine's chest tighter. Whenever Ryan got like this, it had consequences, and she could feel the weight of his anger pressing down on everyone in the room. Your pet projects and passion projects don't matter when we're losing funding to even keep the doors open, he shouted, his frustration spilling over like a boiling pot. And I won't have my hands tied by anyone, especially not you, Tara. Christine's mind raced as she tried to process the chaos erupting. Ryan had always been straightforward, but his outburst felt more personal this time. Her pulse quickened. Did he want to take her down before she'd even begun? The murmurs in the room swelled. Tara's expression hardened. You think I'm the problem? You know as well as I do how crucial this project could be for keeping the community engaged. We can't just turn away from the dreamers. Dreams don't pay bills, Tara, Ryan retorted, his eyes narrowing dangerously. And while you're living in your little fantasy world, I'm the one left to clean up this mess. Christina's voice broke through the tension, sounding small but firm. What do you mean by that? You can't just dismiss what we're trying to build. I need your support, not this weight you've suddenly dropped. He turned to meet her gaze, and for a moment, she saw uncertainty flicker in his eyes, as if he was battling conflicting thoughts. I'm trying to protect you, Christine. This isn't just about to pop up. This whole operation is on shaky ground. What do you mean? Christine wanted to scream, but she swallowed the words, choosing instead to examine the expression on his face. How could he know so much more? But why now? Today? Her voice wavered, low but charged with a frightening mix of vulnerability and defiance. You could have brought this up at any other time. Because it's unsustainable, he snapped back suddenly, tension rippling through the room even more. I've been hearing rumors. Strong ones. Cuts are coming, but they don't need to come at the cost of your dreams. It's not feasible in our current conditions. A knot tightened in Christina's stomach. How much could she press? What rumors? People are talking about major layoffs, restructuring, Ryan shot back, anger melting into something more palpable. Something protective. And if your idea fails, you could be the first to go. The revelation landed in the room like a heavy stone. Christine felt her breath hitch. The stakes were higher than she'd thought. A chorus of concerned expressions surrounded her. People murmured behind closed lips, and Christine could sense the tremor of disbelief echoing through the room. Ryan's protection felt both like a lifeline and a noose around her burgeoning dream. The air thickened with dread, and Tara shot a knowing glance at Ryan, the kind that could cut through steel. You think you can just keep people in the dark forever? Christina's thoughts raced back to Fred's support, the glimmer of hope she had held onto. Could she still fight despite this? Silence settled like fog. A taut, suffocating silence that seemed to drag every ounce of energy from the room. There was so much at stake. All eyes were on her, and she had to decide how to respond, with her future hanging in the balance. I want to let this end before it even begins, she said finally, her voice firm as she stood tall. I want to be swept aside without a fight. Then we need a plan. Now, Ryan challenged. Fine, she shot back, but her pulse quickened. But we're doing this my way. There was no turning back. She felt it in her bones. As the gears of strategy began to grind, Tara stood with arms crossed, a curious smile creeping onto her lips. Interesting. Let us push it then. But I hope you're ready for what that means. What did that mean? Christine wondered as she stepped further into the unknown. The tension was far from over, and she felt an unsettling chill creep in as the battle lines began to draw. And yet, she sensed the raw potential in the outcome. Would the ensuing struggle catapult her toward a breakthrough, or swallow her whole? The moment of reckoning was looming on the horizon. Can you handle the pressure? Tara's voice was a blade through the air, ready to test her resolve. The question echoed in Christine's mind as the room pulsated with uncertainty. What would she reveal next? What voices would she need to drown out to stay afloat? Christine took a deep breath, her heart racing, not just from the pressure of the situation, but from the weight of expectations. Eyes bore into her, and she felt small, like a lone candle flickering in a storm. Let us focus, she said, trying to steady her voice. If we want this project to soar, we can't just slap together a plan, we need a strategy grounded in reality. Ryan nodded, though his brows were still furrowed. There was a hint of relief in his eyes. He was using her strength, the fierce determination that had always drawn them together. Exactly. We need to reassess what we offer the community. Get their feedback. Make it relevant. Otherwise he left the sentence hanging like a guillotine. But how? Tara interjected quickly. We can invite them in, sure, but we need to show them our vision, not just ask for their input. Her voice was laced with urgency, but Christine saw the glimmer of enthusiasm in her eyes. It was the fire she needed. I know, Christine said, her mind racing. We host a community meeting. Something engaging, where they can experience what we have in mind. A taste of our dreams, literally and figuratively. Like a pop-up preview. Tara exclaimed, her earlier ire shifting into excitement. We could showcase projects that highlight our goals. Music, food, art. Make them feel like part of this process. A murmur of agreement rippled through the room, igniting the forward momentum. Christine could feel the tension in Ryan's shoulders begin to ease slightly. Okay, let us plan it out, he said, already scribbling notes. But we need to be realistic. Everyone's on edge with the rumors. We need something that will create a buzz, not just distract. The room buzzed with ideas as people pitched in artisans, musicians, food truck possibilities. For the first time that day, Christine felt a flicker of hope. She envisioned vibrant colors cutting through the gray cloud of financial despair, a rainbow in the storm. Yet each triumphant thought carried an undercurrent of dread. What if this wasn't enough? As if sensing her inner turmoil, Ryan leaned closer. Christine, he said softly, his voice cutting through the cacophony, stay strong. Whatever it takes. I'm on your side with this. She nodded, but deep down, she was wrestling with a storm of doubt. How long could their fragile alliance hold? How could she ensure they wouldn't be the first ones cut? A chilling thought flashed. She needed Ryan's faith, but how deeply shared was that belief? Then, like a crack of thunder, the meeting room door swung open. The director of operations stood in the doorway, her eyes darting nervously around the room. I need to speak to you all, she said, drawing every gaze. The tension shifted to something more acute, an electric charge spreading like wildfire. What is wrong? Christine asked, dread gnawing at her gut. They just announced cuts. Real ones are coming, the director said, voice trembling slightly. And it's worse than we thought. The layoffs are starting next week. Horror washed over the room. Christine felt her breath hitch. It was as if a dark cloud had descended, swallowing the brief glimmer of hope. All her plans were hanging by a thread, and now that thread was fraying fast. What do we do now? Tara's voice rose above the murmurs, a plea, a challenge. Christine locked eyes with Ryan, a spark igniting in the chaos. They had to pivot, they had to fight. We rally the community. We show them we're worth saving. We put on that preview, and we make it unforgettable. Yes, Ryan exclaimed, a fervor igniting. We can do this. If we can't save our jobs, we can at least show we stood for something. That's right, Christine added, her voice steadier now. We can't give up. Not now. Not ever. But in the edges of her mind, doubt crept in. Would their efforts be enough? Could they withstand the upheaval heading their way? As the urgency filled the room, Christine knew they were preparing for an emotional battle. She felt it sink deep in her chest, the reality of what lay ahead. And right as they were about to strategize, her phone buzzed in her pocket. A message lit up on the screen. Meet me. I have something urgent regarding the cuts. Christine's heart raced. Who could it be? What did they know? What did she just step into? Christine's breath caught as she stared at the message. The room felt like it was spinning. Questions whirled through her mind. What did they want to tell her? Was it someone who could help, or would this be another layer of despair? Christine? Ryan's voice pierced her thoughts, pulling her back into reality. The others were watching her, eyes wide and full of concern. What is it? She glanced at her phone one more time, her heart pounding like a drum. It's a message someone wants to meet about the cuts. I don't know who it is. Whoever it is, they might have insider information, Tara said, her voice steady. We can't ignore that. You have to go. Right now. Christine felt a flash of panic. What if it wasn't worth the risk? What if it pushed her even closer to the edge? Yes, Ryan said, a fire igniting in his eyes. We need any advantage we can get. You might hear something crucial. Christine hesitated but then nodded, feeling the gravity of their collective desperation. This was bigger than her fears. She needed to support them, to uncover what she could. Just then, her phone buzzed again, snapping her out of indecision. It's at the coffee shop around the corner. In 30 minutes, she read aloud, trying to suppress the tremor in her voice. Be careful, Ryan warned, his brow furrowed with concern. And don't say anything too revealing. We can't risk our plans getting out. With a nod, Christine stood up, shaking off the waves of anxiety crashing against her. I'll be back soon. Just keep brainstorming ideas for the preview event. It has to be perfect, she said, determination fueling her steps. As she left the building, the cool air hit her, grounding her in the present. The coffee shop was a few blocks away, but each step felt weighted, heavy like lead. She pulled her phone into her pocket, wondering about the urgency of the message. Who knew something she didn't? The streets seemed to pulse with energy, but all she felt was dread. They were counting on her, and the pressure of responsibility settled heavily on her shoulders. Would she be able to deliver? When she reached the coffee shop, the bell above the door chimed, a cheerful sound that felt out of place. She scanned the room, spotting a figure at the back. It was Jenna, someone from HR, normally calm and collected. But her eyes looked frantic, as if she carried a burden too heavy to bear. Christine! Jenna waved, beckoning her over. As Christine approached, she noticed the tension in Jenna's shoulders, the way her hands trembled around her coffee cup. Thanks for meeting me, Jenna said, her voice barely above a whisper. I didn't know how else to tell you this. What is going on? Christine felt a knot form in her stomach. Jenna glanced around the coffee shop before leaning in closer. There has been an unexpected shift. It's worse than just cuts. It's about who is really being targeted. Somehow, your names are at the top of the list. Christine felt the ground shift beneath her feet. What do you mean? She wanted to scream, to shake Jenna for more details, but she held it in. They're planning to push you two out first. Ryan, and you. It's all stuff related to the new agenda they're trying to push. The words hit Christine like a body blow. She gripped the edge of the table, desperate to keep herself from crumbling. But we're trying to save the community program. We have a plan, a meeting. We can't let them do this. Jenna's eyes softened, but her voice remained firm. I know, Christine. But the higher-ups are already making decisions that don't include you. It's about control, and they want to consolidate power. You need to act fast. Fear surged through Christine, mingling with her determination. She needed to turn this around, but how? There was so much at stake. As they spoke, a flicker of movement caught her eye. A group of executives had entered the coffee shop, their laughter echoing through the room, so oblivious to the storm brewing just beneath the surface. Christine's mind raced. Could Jenna help her forge a new path? Would there be a way to leverage the meeting? I have to get back, Christine blurted out, already standing. We need to regroup and come up with something. I can't let them cut us out. Be careful, Jenna called after her, her voice strained. Christine stepped back into the bustling street, her heart pounding wildly. She felt it in her bones. The whirlwind ahead of her was about to become a tempest. Could she do what was necessary to protect everything she cared about? As she hurried back, her phone buzzed again. Another message. We need to talk about your plans. Things are changing. The shock of fear and adrenaline combined sent a chill through Christine. Who was pulling the strings? And what price would she have to pay to uncover the truth? Christine rushed through the door of their office, urgency pounding in her ears. She could see her friends gathered around a table, maps and notes strewn across it, but her mind barely registered their fidgeting postures or tense whispers. The air was thick with worry, but all she could focus on was the message and the twisted web she was now a part of. "Christine? Is everything okay?" Tara asked, concern etched in her voice. She took a deep breath, forcing herself to steady. "No, it's worse than we thought. They're targeting us, Tara. Ryan and me." Jenna said, "We're at the top of their list for cuts." The shock silhouette spread across their faces, shadows deepening in their eyes. "What?" Ryan's voice cracked, betraying the fear he was holding back. "How do they know?" "I don't know." Christine threw her hands up in exasperation. "But we have to act. We can't let them get away with this." "Okay, but how?" Ryan leaned forward, his brows knitting in determination. "We can't just walk into their office and demand they reconsider." Christine felt her heart race. Ideas began swirling in her mind like a storm cloud. "We need a plan, but we also need leverage." Jenna mentioned power consolidation. "If we can expose how this is about controlling us, and not really about cuts." "Expose it to whom?" Tara interjected. "We need the right audience. You know how they spin stories. We need a platform that can't be ignored." Christine nodded, the pieces slowly falling into place. "What if we create a presentation, show them how detrimental these cuts are, not just for us, but for the entire community?" "A presentation won't do enough," Ryan countered. "We need to gather more proof. Show them what the community really thinks. Get testimonials, rally support." "Yes," Christine's voice grew stronger. "We can distribute our fact sheet, connect with partners. If we can go public." "You want to drag this into the open?" Tara frowned, chewing on her pen. "That could backfire. What if they retaliate? We are already on their radar." "We have to take the risk," Christine said, the fire inside her growing. "We can't sit quietly and let them decide our fates. We have to fight back." An uneasy silence fell over the group, the weight of reality hanging thick in the air. Then, with resolute nods, they each began to pull out their phones, preparing to draft a call to action. Suddenly, Christine's phone buzzed again. It was another message, this time from an unknown number. It read, "Meet me at 5. You need to know everything. Time is running out." Her heart raced. "What if it's a trap?" she murmured. "Be cautious," Ryan urged. "Do you know who sent it?" "No. But I can't ignore this," Christine replied, clutching the phone tightly. "If this is someone who knows how they're really operating, it might be the key we need." "Go," Tara urged, her voice firmer. "We need the intel. Just promise you'll keep safe. And if it feels off, you leave. No second guessing." Christine nodded, determination swelled in her chest. She knew it was risky, but this could make or break everything. As she prepared to leave, her heart drummed a frantic rhythm. Stepping out into the cool afternoon air, she glanced back at her friends, their faces a mixture of hope and anxiety. They were counting on her. The street felt alive and chaotic, matching the tumult in her thoughts. Who could be behind the message? Did they truly have information that could turn the tide? As she arrived at the meeting place, the nerves coiling tight within her. The dim light cast long shadows across the pavement, an ominous reminder of what was at stake. Who would she find waiting for her? Christine glanced at the entrance, adrenaline surging. It was too late to turn back now. But what awaited her on the other side could change everything. But would it lead to salvation or destruction? With a deep breath, she pushed the door open, feeling the pull of the unknown beckoning her forward. The door creaked loudly as Christine stepped into the dimly lit room. A heavy silence met her, punctuated only by the low hum of flickering fluorescent lights overhead. Her eyes adjusted, scanning the space for any sign of the person who had summoned her. The walls were lined with worn-out tables and mismatched chairs, each one a testament to countless meetings where hope had met despair. Just then, a figure emerged from the shadows at the far end of the room. It was a man tall and thin, with a dark hoodie pulled over his head. He leaned against a table, arms crossed, his expression unreadable. "Christine," he said, his voice smooth but laced with urgency. "You made it." "Who are you?" Christine demanded, her voice firm despite the unease swirling in her stomach. "What do you know about the cuts?" He stepped closer, lowering his voice into a conspiratorial whisper. "They're coming for you, both of you, and it's much bigger than just layoffs. This is about control. They don't just want to cut staff, they want to silence dissent. But I can help." "Help? How?" Christine pressed, her heart racing with a mix of fear and hope. "You must know something." He nodded, his eyes narrowing. "I do. But first, you have to trust me. They've got eyes everywhere. We need to be careful about what we say." Christine hesitated. Trust was a dangerous game, yet desperation gnawed at her. "Go on." He took a deep breath, glancing around as if he feared being overheard. "There's a document, an internal memo, that outlines the real reasons behind the cuts. It's not about budgets. It's about power plays and eliminating anyone who might threaten their control. You get this in the right hands, and it could change everything." Christine's mind raced. An internal memo? If they had proof of malice, their fight could gain the traction it desperately needed. But a cold chill darted down her spine. Who was this man? Why was he willing to help a stranger? "Where do I find it?" she asked, determination overriding her caution. He stepped even closer, his face serious. "I can get it, but I need you to meet me again tonight alone. You have to be prepared for anything. If they catch wind that someone is snooping around." A sudden crash interrupted them, a loud bang from outside that sent adrenaline surging through Christine. The man recoiled slightly, tension visible in his posture. "Time is running out. You need to make a decision, Christine. Tonight or never." With that, he turned and slipped out the back door, leaving Christine standing there, her breath shallow and quickening. She was alone again, but the weight of the moment pressed heavy on her shoulders. Conflicting thoughts wrestled within her. Was he the ally she desperately needed, or a wolf in sheep's clothing? Stepping back into the bustling street, she felt the breath of uncertainty on her neck. Could she trust him? What if this was a trap? Her phone buzzed again, a swift reminder of the ticking clock. It was a message from Ryan. "Where are you?" "We're getting worried." Panic bubbled in her chest. She had to get back to her friends, to discuss this potential new lead, but every moment slipped like sand between her fingers. They needed answers, and they needed them now. With resolve, Christine began walking briskly towards the office, a thousand thoughts swirling. Would she meet this stranger again? What if he was right, and this was their chance to expose the truth? As she approached the corner, her heart sank when she saw them, a cluster of suits gathered outside her office building. Their imposing presence felt like a dark omen, waiting for her. What were they doing there? The question clenched her stomach with a cold grip. She had to act fast. The world narrowed around her as she made a decision to confront across the threshold between her normal life and a fight that could change everything. But as she squared her shoulders and stepped forward, the darker possibilities loomed larger. Would they recognize the storm brewing within her? Would she still have time to gather the evidence she needed? The air thickened with anticipation, and Christine just hoped she hadn't stepped into a trap of her own making. Christine's heart boomed in her chest as she took her first steps toward the office. The suits loomed larger with each stride, their conversations hushed but intense. Were they waiting there for her? What could they possibly want? She adjusted the strap of her bag, forcing herself to keep moving forward. Ignoring them was not an option. If they were here to intimidate, they wouldn't catch her off guard. She felt the hot flush of anger rising. They had taken so much already, but they wouldn't take her voice. "Christine!" A familiar voice broke through her thoughts. It was Ryan, his expression twisted in concern. "You vanished?" "We were about to listen," she interrupted, glancing over her shoulder at the suits. "We need to talk." "Now? What is going on?" he asked, frowning. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "I think I know why they're doing this about the cuts. There is something bigger at play here, but I need your help." Ryan's eyes darted toward the cluster of suits. "Shouldn't we go inside?" "No. I don't want to seem like I'm running scared." "Not now." She was trembling, fighting the urge to look back again. "Okay," he said. "Just tell me what you need." Before she could reply, one of the suits broke away from the group and began walking their way, a predatory smile on his face. It was Jim, the head of HR, cold, calculating, with a knack for reading minds. Christine shoved her hands into her pockets, a wave of panic crashing over her. "Christine," Jim's voice was smooth, almost soothing, as if he were intentionally trying to draw her in. "Glad to see you. We need to talk privately." "No. I don't think so," she shot back, confidence flaring in her chest like a sudden flame. Jim raised an eyebrow, his smile vanishing. "I think it would be in your best interest to listen." Ryan shifted closer to Christine, his body tensing. "We were just leaving, actually." That steel smile returned. "I wouldn't recommend that. You see, Christine, we have some concerns about the rumors circulating in our department. It would be unfortunate if they reached the wrong ears." Christine's stomach twisted. This was no ordinary conversation, this was a threat, and it didn't sit well. "You can't intimidate me, Jim. I know what is happening." "Oh, I'm aware of what you think is happening," he said with a glint in his eye. "But I assure you, you don't have the complete picture. I'd hate to see you making any rash decisions." Ryan stepped in front of her, shadows cloaking his protective stance. "What are you really saying?" "Just that Christine might not want to dig too deep." "There are consequences for that, you know," he replied, a smug lilt in his voice. "I'd hate to see her hurt enough." Christine shouted, her voice echoing off the nearby buildings. It had been so long since she'd stood her ground like this, and it felt terrifying and liberating. Suddenly, a commotion at the end of the street grabbed their attention. Like that, the tension shifted. Christine turned to see a group of workers coming her way, their faces twisted in disbelief. They were holding signs, banners flapping in the wind, all chanting something she couldn't quite hear. Her heart raced again. "What is this?" Ryan asked, eyes wide as he spotted the new distraction. "It's happening." Christine breathed in awe. "They're rallying." "Stop that right now!" Jim barked, the calm facade cracking. But it was too late. The gathering crowd began to make their way toward the office building with an intensity Christine had never seen before. A wave of empowerment washed over her. Maybe they weren't as alone in this battle as she thought, but the question loomed, raw and real: what would Jim do next? The suits shifted, whispering frantically amongst themselves. Was this the fight they wanted? Could Christine face Jim, back up against the wall, and still walk away unscathed? Christine felt the eyes of her colleagues shift from the protest to her, the weight of their anticipation heavy on her shoulders. The stakes were higher than she'd ever imagined. "Are you ready?" Ryan whispered, giving her a sideways glance. "I've got nothing left to lose," she said, a mixture of fear and defiance swirling in her chest. But as the chanting grew louder, threatening to drown out all reason, Christine couldn't shake the sense of impending chaos that loomed just beyond the horizon. What would happen when everything collided? Christine stood before the gathering crowd, the fear and uncertainty swirling around her like storm clouds. She could see the workers' determination glistening in their eyes, and it sparked something deep within her, a fierce resolve. They were not alone anymore, and together, they could fight back against the looming threat. As she turned to face Jim, his slick demeanor had faded, replaced by a flare of irritation. "This is a mistake, Christine. You're only exposing yourself and them to danger." "Danger?" she shot back, her heart racing but steady. "You think silence keeps us safe? You are the real danger, Jim. Keeping us down, hiding the truth." The chant grew louder, weaving through the air like an anthem of rebellion. Her colleagues were drawn to the energy, and she could feel the solidarity building as they rallied behind her. They were ready to stand up and fight, to refuse the narrative that had long tried to silence their voices. "And what do you think will happen if you push this?" Jim retorted, his smile gone, replaced by a furrowed brow. The tension crackled between them, so thick it was suffocating. "You really think they'll care about your community projects when they have you marked? This could cost you everything." Christine took a bold step forward, feeling the collective pulse of hope surge like an electric current. "Maybe we're fighting for something bigger than our jobs. Maybe we're fighting for every person out there who has felt voiceless." The roar of agreement from the crowd grew, drowning out Jim's protests. Ryan leaned closer, his expression mirroring Christine's conviction. "They're scared. When people fight back, you rattle cages. Just stay strong." Suddenly, the clamor of chants blended with the distant sirens, and Christine felt every single heartbeat in the air. They were on the edge of something monumental, and she had to keep that flame alive. "Together, we can change the narrative," she cried, letting her voice soar above the noise. "We can show them that dreams matter, that every dish we create is more than just food, it's love, community, and resilience." The crowd responded, a wave of passion surging forth. "We want to back down. We want to be silenced." Christine's heart swelled with pride as she looked into the determined faces surrounding her. There was strength in numbers, a truth that resonated deeply. For the first time, she felt like a herald of change, not just a vulnerable mother trying to save her business. Jim's facade cracked further, frustration pouring from him like a dark cloud. "You think this is how it works? You think they'll just allow you to sabotage them?" "Maybe you need to understand," Ryan interjected, stepping beside Christine. "We're not here to play by your rules any longer. This fight belongs to us, and we won't be intimidated into silence." The crowd erupted into cheers, galvanizing Christine's spirit. At that moment, she understood what she had to do. "Let us take this to the streets. Let us gather our community, share our stories, and show everyone what it really means to be part of something bigger." She stepped back, heart pounding, but she felt a wave of support lifting her up. The fire in Jim's eyes now flickered with uncertainty, and Christine seized the moment. "You can threaten, you can shout, but we're not going anywhere. You have underestimated the strength of our passion." With that, she gestured toward the entrance of the office building. "This is our space. We will reclaim it." As the crowd began to march forward, swirling around her in a sea of voices, Christine felt the weight of her struggle transform. The shadows that once haunted her had lifted into the sun, replaced by the bright promise of unity and hope. Jim's voice strained to bring order, but it was too late. Their collective courage drowned out his demands, echoing across the streets. Christine caught Ryan's eye, a look of fierce pride passing between them. They were not just fighting for their jobs now, they were igniting a movement. As they pressed on, Christine knew that they had forged a new path. They would show those in power the strength of their community, the importance of their stories, and most importantly, that they would not be silenced any longer. The journey was far from over, but today marked the crescendo of their fight, one they were ready to pursue together. This was how change began: one dream, one voice, and one unyielding community rising up. But as they rallied forth, the realization struck Christine this was but the first step in a larger battle, and they were just beginning to weave their narrative of hope. This is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now, so you don't miss any of the exclusive content coming up. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Your engagement is critical. And listen, flood the comments section. I want to hear your reactions and theories about this wild conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this thrilling journey unfolds.